Every time you failed to stick to a new habit, you blamed your willpower. You were wrong. The debate over what truly drives human behavior has two fanatical sides, and they both think the other is dangerously misguided. One camp says you are a puppet of your environment, and the only way to change is to change your strings. The other insists that character is destiny, and all meaningful change must start from within. Where do you stand? By the end of this, you might change your mind. Let's start with the environmental argument, because it's ruthlessly practical. The core idea is that your brain is a lazy, efficient prediction machine. It will always choose the path of least resistance. Discipline, from this perspective, is the art of landscaping those paths. You want to eat healthier? You make the distance between you and a cookie longer than the distance between you and an apple. You clear the junk food from your house, you prep healthy meals and put them at the front of the fridge. Each step adds friction to the bad habit and removes it from the good one. The choice is still there, it's just tilted. This goes far beyond your kitchen. Want to read more? Put a book on your pillow. Your phone in another room? Want to exercise in the morning? Sleep in your gym clothes. These are called pre-commitments. You make a decision once for your future self, who you know will be weak. The Greek hero Odysseus understood this perfectly. He knew he couldn't resist the siren's song with raw willpower, so he had his men tie him to the ship's mast and plug their own ears with wax. He engineered his environment for success. He outsourced his discipline to a rope. That sounds convincing. But there's a problem. This logic can feel shallow. Are we really just simple stimulus response machines? Critics of this view argue that it ignores the root cause. You can throw out all the ice cream in your house, but if you haven't addressed the stress or boredom that triggers your craving, you're just a delivery app away from failure. You haven't solved the problem. You've just made the old solution slightly more inconvenient. The underlying desire remains coiled and waiting. This is where the second camp makes its stand. This side argues that the true environment is inside your head, your beliefs, your identity, your story. They believe that lasting change comes from rewriting your internal script. You stop saying, "I'm trying to eat healthy," and start telling yourself, "I am a healthy person." You stop trying to force yourself to write. You start seeing yourself as a writer. Each action then becomes a vote for this new identity. Going to the gym, even for 5 minutes, isn't about the workout. It's about casting a vote for being the kind of person who doesn't miss workouts. The behavior follows the identity, not the other way around. The ultimate example of this is Viktor Frankl, a psychiatrist who survived the Nazi concentration camps. His external environment was the most brutal, dehumanizing design imaginable. Every signal in his world was meant to crush the human spirit. Yet, he found a way to exercise the last of the human freedoms, the power to choose one's attitude. He decided to find meaning in his suffering, to use it as a way to study the limits of human resilience. His internal world gave him a power that his external world could never touch. If a man can build a fortress of character in a death camp, what excuse is there for blaming your messy desk for your lack of focus? And yet, the other side has its own blind spot. Telling someone in poverty to simply adopt an abundance mindset feels both cruel and out of touch. Telling an overworked single parent to just embrace the identity of a calm, mindful person ignores the brutal reality of their schedule. The environment places real physical constraints on us. To ignore them is to live in a fantasy. The evidence for environmental influence is overwhelming. Researchers in behavioral economics call it choice architecture. Small changes in the way options are presented have massive effects on outcomes. Putting the healthy food at eye level in a cafeteria increases its consumption. Automatically enrolling employees in a retirement plan dramatically increases savings rates. These nudges work on millions of people, regardless of their individual mindset or willpower. The data is clear. Your environment is programming you, whether you agree with it or not. So what's the real answer? The truth, as usual, is more complicated than either side admits. It is a feedback loop. Your environment shapes your thoughts and actions. Your actions, over time, change your identity. A new identity then leads you to seek out or build a new environment that aligns with it. A person who starts going to the gym, environmental cue, begins to feel like an athlete, identity shift. Soon, they're buying different foods, spending time with other active people, and consuming fitness media, building a new environment. The loop spirals up or down. The real debate is about the most effective place to intervene. Imagine two people trying to quit drinking. One follows the environmentalist playbook. They pour out all the alcohol. They delete the phone numbers of their drinking buddies. They map a new route home that avoids their old favorite bars. They create a sterile environment, a fortress of sobriety. The other person follows the internal path. They go to therapy. They journal. They meditate on their triggers. They work on building a new identity as a sober person, someone who values clarity and health above the temporary escape of alcohol. Which one is more likely to succeed? The most effective programs, like Alcoholics Anonymous, insist on doing both. You change your environment by going to meetings and getting a sponsor. You are surrounded by new people in new places. But you also change your internal world by admitting powerlessness and working through the 12 steps. One system supports the other. The external structure gets you through the moments when your internal resolve wavers. The internal resolve is what keeps you from dismantling the external structure on a bad day. You need the rope, and you need the will to tie the knot. Here's where it gets really tricky. Let's explore the dark side of taking either approach to its extreme. The pure environmentalist risks becoming a greenhouse plant. Their good habits are incredibly fragile. They can be productive and disciplined only in their perfectly curated home office with their noise-cancelling headphones and their pre-portioned meals. The moment they travel for work or face a family emergency, their entire system collapses. The discipline was never theirs. It belonged to the walls, the schedule, the routine. They outsourced their character instead of building it. But the person who relies only on internal strength faces a different danger: burnout and self-loathing. They believe everything is a test of will. They try to write a novel in a loud, chaotic household. They try to diet while their partner stocks the pantry with their favorite snacks. They are constantly fighting a headwind. When they inevitably fail, they conclude that they are fundamentally weak, lazy, or broken. They engage in a heroic, exhausting, and ultimately pointless battle against their surroundings. The sheer effort of resisting a poorly designed environment drains the very energy they need to do the meaningful work. They are white-knuckling their way through life, and that is a recipe for collapse. The critical skill is diagnostic. It's knowing which tool to use for which problem. Is your environment failing you, or is your narrative? An artist who can't create might blame their lack of inspiration, a mindset problem. But perhaps their studio is cluttered, their tools are disorganized, and the notifications are constant. That's an environment problem. Solving the wrong problem is the most efficient way to stay stuck. Fixing the environment is often the fastest way to get a result. It provides the initial momentum. It creates the space for the deeper, internal work to even begin. You clear the runway before you try to take off. So if both are true, what do you do first? The answer depends on your starting energy. Changing your environment is an act of logistics. Changing your identity is an act of faith. Logistics are easier. You can change your pantry in an afternoon. Changing your self-concept can take years. The environmental change provides immediate feedback. The space looks different. This small win can provide the psychological fuel needed to start the longer, harder journey of identity change. The external shift creates a vacuum that the new identity can grow into. It is a dance between structure and spirit. You build the trellis, then you plant the seed. You can't have one without the other. A trellis with no vine is just a skeleton. A vine with no trellis grows into a tangled mess on the ground. The structure guides the growth. The growth gives the structure purpose. Your environment is the trellis. Your identity is the vine. You are the gardener. So what do you think? The debate isn't between a right answer and a wrong one. It's a debate about leverage. Where do you apply force to get the most profound and lasting change? Do you believe, as one side does, that we are creatures of context and the smartest move is to rig the game in our favor? To build a world around us where the right choice is always the easy choice? Or do you believe that character is forged in fire and relying on external systems is a crutch that ultimately makes us weaker? That the real victory is building an internal resilience so powerful that the environment becomes irrelevant? It's a feedback loop. Environment shapes identity. Identity shapes environment. Where do you break the chain? If you had to choose one to focus on for the next 30 days, radically redesigning your physical and social world, or radically redesigning your internal story of who you are, which lever do you pull? Where do you place your bet?